Hey everybody, it's Randy at Knox Horizon Complete Auto Care. In today's video, we want to talk about your check engine light. So, most people have been driving, their check engine light comes on, and you've heard the ad on the radio or TV or somewhere. Come to your local parts store and we'll scan that for you for free. And they will, with a $50 scan tool, which is a read only and does not go in depth into diagnosing what's really setting your check engine light. We had GMC Terrain in the other day that she took it to a auto parts store. They scanned it and told her she had an evap canister purge solenoid code in there, and that's what needed to be replaced on the vehicle. So she came to us, told us the part needed to be replaced. Well, we're just not going to throw parts at a car based on somebody else's opinion. So we diagnosed the car, we scanned it with our thousands of dollars worth professional scan tool, diagnostic scan tool, not a code reader, but our diagnostic scan tool, and found out there was no evap canister purge solenoid code in it at all. There was a small evap leak code, and to tell you what happens when you get a small evap leak code, I can tell you 9 times out of 10 is what's caused it. It's one of three things. If it has a gas cap, somebody didn't tighten the gas cap up well after they filled their car up with gas. They filled the car up with gas while it was running, which will set that code. Or if it's one of the ones that's capless, the little flapper has become weak and it's letting air into the system. 9 times out of 10, it's one of those three things that sets that small evap leak code. And most of the time, you can either tighten the gas cap, tell them please don't fill your car up again while it's running, and clear the codes, and it doesn't come back. If it still comes back, then we have to go deeper, and most of the time then, if it's one that doesn't have a gas cap, that flappers went bad. So, I've digressed a little bit, but let's talk about what we do with the check engine light when it comes in. First thing we do with every car check engine light, we drive the vehicle. Are there any drivability issues in that vehicle that would kind of give us a clue as to what's going on? Now, after driving this car on a 2-mile test drive, I found no drivability issues whatsoever. But we're going to show you the check engine light's on. As Justin gets in here and focuses on it, as you guys can see, the check engine light, that little light right there, is on. And for anybody that maybe doesn't know cars well, that's what your check engine light looks like. Or you may have an older car, it may come up and say service engine soon. Now that doesn't mean you have an actual engine problem. What that can mean is, it's basically telling you there's a sensor or a computer problem, is what it's telling you. There's one of the sensors that gives information to the car's brain, the computer, that's not working right, or the computer itself. And that's why we have a diagnostic scan tool to go in and find out what's really going on, what diagnostic trouble codes are in there, so that we can properly diagnose the car. So the first thing we'll do is cut the car back off. And we're going to attach what's called a VCI. Basically, it's a receiver for the scan tool. And we're going to plug it into the onboard diagnostic plug on the car, OBD2 plug, which is normally located somewhere right under the dash. This one's very easy to get to. And I plug it in, as you guys can see, everything starts lighting up. Next step we do is we turn the ignition on, but not starting the car. We just need power going to everything. They make these scan tools really cool so you can actually set them on the steering wheel like this so you can read them while you're doing your job. Now, automatically, the scan tool is going to auto-detect what the vehicle identification number or VIN number is of this car. And first thing it asks me, is it a Ford or a Ford European model? It's a USA model. Now I've got to enter some information like our repair order number. It's how we track which car we have. and it pulls up the VIN automatically. And tells me everything about this car. That it's a Taurus, tells me the engine type, the capacity, the year model of the car, which is 2017. It is a gasoline, federal emission, which is US emission, the VIN, and it's an automatic. Does it have an 8-inch touchscreen? So we look, it does not have an 8-inch touchscreen. Now those little $50 scan tool code readers that the parts stores use don't ask any of that. So now we want to do a scan on it, but we've got to put in some information first. The customer's name. The technician, which is myself, RJ. Then it's going to ask for the license plate number. As you guys can see, it already pulled up the mileage on the car. If you ever want to verify it to make sure, just pull it down and look at what the current mileage is on the car and verify that they're adding up. But we got to put in the license plate, which all of our people get when the cars come in to the shop. So now it's going to start scanning all the codes, the computers. It's going to scan the computers to see what diagnostic trouble codes are in there. Do we want to attach any pictures? We're not doing this for any kind of collision purposes, so I'm not going to attach any pictures. And I want to look at a list instead because it gives me all the codes. So, as you guys can see, if you can see the screen, we have a unable to bleed up fuel tank vacuum. Now that's related to the canister purge valves on these things. Instrument panel control, we have invalid data received from the heating and air conditioning. We have a battery voltage, which tells me we've probably had a power failure or a battery problem at some point on this car and the codes were never erased. Accessory protocol interface module, control module code, anti-theft in there, power steering module codes, steering column module codes. When I see this many codes in the car, 9 times out of 10, we have had a power failure at some point. They've had to jump the car off, the batteries went dead, we've had a bad battery. Most of the time, based on 40 years experience in this business, that's what we're going to have. Now, do I know that for sure? No. I'm going to have to call the customer and get a little more information on if that's something that's ever happened before I go any further with this. But that's the first part of us finding out what's going on with this check engine light, is we've got to pull all these codes first, and then I'm going to print them all out. But one thing on our scan tools that we can do is we can go in and find out about those particular codes. There's no additional information on that one. See if there is on the next one. As you guys can see, when we're diagnosing these trouble codes, there's a lot of information on each code as to what it could be and what we need to test. Again, though, when I see battery voltage code, one of the first things I think about is we've had a problem at some point where the battery or power to this car has failed and we've had to jump it off or replace the battery in it. And a lot of batteries have to be registered to the computer so it knows it's a new battery, because computers in newer cars control how much voltage the alternator puts out to keep the battery charged. So if you replace the battery and it doesn't get registered to the computers that has to happen, then it always overcharging the battery and the batteries won't last as long. So there's a lot that goes into diagnosing these check engine lights and battery failures than just reading some codes and it telling you, yes, replace this. You have to be a detective sometimes and get a little bit deeper and further into these things so that then you can find out what's really going on with that car so that you can repair it properly. Unlike a parts store that you go in, it gives them a code, yeah, you need to replace this part. That's absolute BS. That doesn't work. That's like you guys may have seen the ads online where they have these little fix-it devices that you take and plug into that same OBD port, and a thing pops on your phone that says you can fix your own car. That app doesn't tell you jack about what's really going on in the information. That's why we spend thousands of dollars on these tools so that we can literally go in, and some cars now have special gateways built in that you have to pay a subscription to the manufacturer to even be able to get into the system, which we do because we're a professional repair shop. We're not some fly-by-night, we're not some shade tree mechanic. We spend a lot of money on the equipment and the training for our people so they know how to diagnose and fix these problems properly. So I'm going to get all this taken care of, printed out, and then we'll come back and I'll show you the next steps that we do. Hey everybody, Randy back with you. I've got a little more information on the car now. So the lady that owns the car, her granddaughter's been driving the car and isn't sure if there's been a problem with the battery. So what we're going to do is what we call a test every vehicle test, where we're going to test the battery, the starting, and the charging system on the car to make sure we don't have a voltage problem, which can also cause a lot of those codes that's in there. So now we're going to a totally different tool. This is a tool we use to test the battery, starting, and charging system on a vehicle. And this battery has just been replaced, so now the next question I ask goes back to what I talked about a minute ago in the video. Did we replace a battery in here and not register it to the system? Because if we did, that could set all those codes also. So let's do the, let's test the system and see what we have. And somebody turned our tool off, so now we got to wait on it to warm up. There, whoop, there it was. It went. Okay, if we're having a problem with this, somebody needs to tell me. Okay, in-vehicle test. What did the customer say, ma'am?
Customer stated that she has not jump-started the vehicle, but has just put a brand new battery in it.
There you go, you heard it. She just put a brand new battery in it. That's probably what happened. They probably did not register it to the computer, and that's what probably started the whole problem, but we're still going to check everything just to make sure that the alternator and everything's charging properly. Oh, she put it in herself? So we know that it didn't get registered to the system because she put the battery in herself. And that's something, again, that a lot of people just don't realize. There's more. Cars today are literally, you're driving around at a computer. So it's more than just replacing parts and that fixing the problem. Because a lot of times it's like if you have one that has electronic steering and you replace a steering angle sensor, it has to be calibrated. You put a battery in a lot of these newer cars, it has to be registered to the computer system. And my guess is it never happened. because the customer did it themselves because they thought it's a battery. I just replaced the battery, that's it. But now by not doing it properly or having a professional do that for you because you're trying to save money or whatever, now we're spending diagnostic money anyway to find out why the car has all these codes and check engine lights on, when if we had just had it professionally done up front, that could have all been avoided. But again, we're going to check the system. Give me 1 second. Trying to do a video and do this at the same time, I forget steps, so I forgot to turn the ignition on so it couldn't read the VIN. Again, everything has a little plug-in to the OBD port so that we can read VINs and get all the car's information so that we don't have to punch everything in. Now, what's the battery that's got in it? It's 650 cold cranking amps, which are already there, so next. So now, I gotta make sure everything's off, engine's off. All the doors are closed. Boom. We're starting our battery test. And it's a brand new battery, so it should test good. 100%, but the state of charge is 53%. So now I know two things by looking at this report. One is, yep, brand new battery. It's perfect, it's 100% state of health, it's good. But by only having a 53% state of charge, either the car doesn't get driven a lot, or the alternator's not working properly, or again, we didn't register the new battery to a system that needs to be registered, so the alternator doesn't know how much to charge it. So the next thing we're going to do is test the starter. For that, I do have to get in the car. Okay. So now, I'm at my starter test. It's waiting on me to start the car. Boom. So now, move that out of the way. So, air cranking was normal. Everything did good. So now our next step is to check the charging of the car. So, all electrical stuff off, so no radio. The AC's off, so everything electrical's off. That's the first thing we do. We want to hit continue. Okay, so now we got to keep the vehicle between 2,000 and 3,000 RPMs. Boom. So now we got to turn everything on, including the headlights or anything that we can. We can turn the radio back on. We can turn the AC back on because we're going to put it under a load to test the rest of it. Continue. So our charging's normal. So what that tells me is that, again, we're going to probably go back to the fact of the battery never got registered to the system. So the next thing I'm going to do, because I can do that here, first of all, I'm going to print out our report. Okay, so now we've saved our report. We're going to come out of it. So we're going to go to battery reset. And I don't even know that this one has a registry, but we're going to find out. So it tells you everything you got to do the reset, which we're in, and it is now registered. It's that simple. But now I have to reset the power windows. And another reason, this is the reason, guys, I say to take these things to a professional when you're doing this. So close the window, and then we press the window button for 1 second and let go. So now we've done it. Now we've got to relearn the throttle on the car. There's more to replacing a battery in some of these cars than it is just replacing the battery. So now the ignition on. We depress and release the accelerator. And now we've done it. We've done everything we need to do to register that battery. So now what we're going to do, bump, 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 bump. Yeah, I know. I'm going to go into Diagnostics from my scan tool. We're going to do our VIN search again. Unfortunately, every function I go into, I've got to remind it what car I'm in. But without having to pull out the big scan tool, I should be able to erase every code in the car. So we're going to scan it again. And this is a lot slower with this scan net because it just doesn't have the power of our big diagnostic scan tool. But it's finding all the same faults that we had a minute ago. So you guys can also see on diagnosing these check engine lights why it takes time. It's not just as simple as plugging a tool in and knowing exactly what to fix. You have to investigate a little bit, you have to dig a little bit further, but now we're going to erase all the codes. If you guys remember though, the codes did give me that hint that we had a battery or a voltage problem. So now that we've erased all the codes, we're going to disconnect our equipment and we're going to go redrive the vehicle to see if anything comes back. My guess is that it won't, but we've got to verify that problem, that we fixed the customer's problem. So I'm going to unhook everything and then I'll be back right after the test drive. All right, everybody, we are back from our test drive on our Ford. We're going to rescan it to see if any codes come back. The only one that I believe may come back is the fuel vent valve code. It could be related, but most of the time that's not a voltage related code, but we're going to see. So let's rescan the system. No photos. And let's see, we did have one come back, but only one code. Remember, we had a bunch of codes in there before. And the check engine light's not on, so I'm really have to investigate this code a little more. It's a control module code. Okay. Okay. It is still a voltage problem. So what's possible, it's possible that the quick erase did not get rid of that code. Sometimes you have to go, like we've done now, go into the individual module and erase the code individually. Because sometimes the quick erase will not get rid of every one of those codes. This one's still up. So now, what do we do now? Now what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to take that code that you see there, and I'm going to have to go into a program like AllData or Mitchell, put that in and find out what the diagnostic procedure is for diagnosing that code. So I'll be back with you in a minute to show you what that procedure is. So now what we're going to do, I've got with our shop foreman, Joe Childress, and we're going to take the code that was left in that Ford, we're going to look it up and see what the cause is and what the remedy to this code could be. Yep. And again, we have access to multiple different programs and stuff that we have to pay subscription fees to be able to go into these codes and find out what causes them, what the most likely fix is, and a lot of things going into the diagnostics, these check engine lights, that people just don't realize. Most people think with any car they can go to YouTube or Google and put in, this is what's going on, they'll tell them how to fix it, and sometimes that works. But really, on any cars in the past 10 years, 2015 and up, it can be a whole lot more complicated than just throwing a part or just following what somebody says on a forum. And that's why you really need a professional to diagnose and fix these problems. There are no lights on, by the way, I'll tell you that. Nope, check engine light's completely off.
Blind spot monitoring, that's what occupant says. I don't see any, there's no issue with that. 3000, so I'm not pulling up anything for protocol. See that? 3000. So this is steering gear. This is stuff that's actually embedded into another module.
Right.
But as far as the accessory protocol,
Well, what we had before, just so you got a rep.
with the vehicle as far as the radio, the power steering.
I did not find any, no. And we did have that one before. It's the only one that came back. I mean, we had a ton, but when I started seeing bad battery voltage, I knew we'd had a problem somewhere. Even though, but not any of these others came back. It was just that one right here that just says control module. It doesn't tell you what module. It doesn't tell you, it's one of those. And this is where the investigation comes into. When you're sitting in here going, okay, it just tells me control module, but which control module? This thing's got several modules on it.
Accessory protocol module, ATCM, altering control module, audio.
But no drivability issues that I found at all.
I don't think it's going to be.
Do you think it's one that Well, I did go into the module and try to erase it, and it came right back. So it's not even a hard erase problem.
It's got to do with your
The screen?
display. That's the module that it's after, so
Oh, okay. So that at least tells us.
something, that's a starting point anyway.
So the code, what we found out, now we finally narrowed it down to what module it is. It has to do with the touch screen, the radio is what it has to deal with. So now I'm going to investigate to see if there's any problems with that radio or anything. As a matter of fact, we may call the customer and ask them if they've noticed any problems with it. And we'll go from there. So after talking to the customer further on the 2017 Ford, there are no problems with the display or the radio. We've determined that that last code that's in there is an internal short somewhere in that radio module and screen, but everything's working properly. There's no check engine lights on. We solved that whole problem with the battery reset. So our advice to her is, unless it starts acting up or something happens, don't go to the expense of tearing all that out, because we can get into the hundreds or thousands of dollars trying to diagnose the internal fault in that system. And plus, I checked that module, if it can be found, is several $100s plus the labor to tear the dash out and everything to replace it. So at this point in time, we consider the customer's problem solved and the car back on the road. I hope you guys have learned that just going to a parts store and having a scan done with one of their cheap read-only scan tools does not fix a check engine light issue and does not really tell you what's going on with that system. I hope you've learned something today. If you have, please like this video. Feel free to share it with people who you think would find this interesting. Subscribe to the channel and follow us for more. Until next time, it's Randy Justice saying, hope you have a great day, and for all your automotive needs in Knoxville and the surrounding area, come see us at Knox Horizon Complete Auto Care, 4701 Clinton Highway. Give us a call, 865-219-6999, or visit us on the web at knoxhorizon.com.